Hello everyone, it's Carol here at Oak House Journals. Hope you're all happy and well and raring to go for another Margarete Miller collage assignment. This is her 2024 collage challenge and we are on assignment number 37, which means it's week 37. It's another sunny day here in the UK, not complaining in the slightest, so I hope it's okay with you. I've left one blind open and that's why you're getting a shaft of sunlight coming through here from this blind here. But I've closed this one down, so I'm hoping it's not going to be too much of an issue for you. Okay, so let's go through the prompts. The first one, train, plane or automobile. I've chosen this image, and as you can see, I've fussy cut this beautiful vintage car out. I've even chopped out the windshield there, so I'm going to be using that on my piece. The second prompt is a decorative napkin. Well, I've got a packet of V&A napkins here at home, and as you can see, I've chopped one in half, chopped a little bit off the bottom. I'm not going to be using this portion. I'm going to use this portion, which I've trimmed to size to my working area, and I've also taken away the two white backing layers, so it's quite thin. Not decided yet whether I'm going to have it full size or whether I'll need to trim it down. Won't know about that until the main collage evolves. But that's the piece I've got, and as you can see, there's a nice match with the colour tones of the car to the background. The third prompt is something found in the mountains. Well, I was pretty uninspired with my choice for this one. I decided to go with vegetation, couldn't really think of anything else. Thought about mountain climbers, but I used that in a prompt last year, so decided not to. So I went with vegetation and wildlife and berries, which is what I've got on this piece here. And you've seen me use this book before. It came out of here, but that is the only little portion I've got left. So I'm hoping I can find a place for it and it will fit on my my collage. As you can see, I've partially cut round the edge there, but not down here, because I'm not quite sure whether I'm going to use all of this piece or cut it in two at this stage. The fourth prompt is a dictionary page. Well, I've got this lovely old dictionary here. It was one that belonged to my dad. As you can see, his signature is in that top corner, G.G. Fowler. Lovely old dictionary. And I've got a couple of pages here that are already torn, so I'm sure one of those will hit the prompt nicely. An interesting building. I've got a postcard here of Our Saviour's Church at Christianshavn. Not sure where that is actually, but as you can see, it's a fabulous looking building. Love this lovely deep green olive sky in the background, and it's obviously floodlit and it's very ornate with a lot of gold and a lot of statues, so I'm definitely going to be using that on my piece today. And as you can see, it is just shy in width of my working area, so that's got to be trimmed down, but I really don't want to lose too much of this background if I can help it at all. And the bonus prompt, a paper clip or brad. Well, I'm going for 2 brads, and I've gone for 2 of the Ranger number brads. I'm going to pop those in front of me up there so I don't lose them. And also my prompts, I'm going to bring in my piece of napkin. As I say, I've got to trim this down, but I want to try and get some placement first with my car. Now, I do have a rough idea of how this is going to go, but I don't know if it's going to work until I actually physically start putting it in place. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trim along the bottom there and leave myself with a little white border. I actually like the white border on here because what I think is if I put this background directly next to the napkin, it will not stand out well. So if I do that, you can see what I mean. Having that little white border helps this image come to the forefront, but as I've said, I've got to trim it down, so I will have to do some jiggery pokery to see if I can retain that white border. Okay, so what have I got here? Here's my dictionary pages. I thought I could put this along the bottom because on its own my car isn't going to stand out enough against this, and I do want something to ground it on. Let me move it up a little bit. So I'm using that line there to ground it, but it doesn't give me enough behind it, and this is where the other piece might come in. Don't want a straight edge along the top, so these torn edges are just perfect. I can afford to move it over a little. I could drop it right down actually. Don't want this white edge down here, so I'm going to trim that away. Sorry, not white edge, this wide edge, I should have said. Do want some sort of edge there, but not as wide as it was. I had that drop down, didn't I, and in a little. Let's bring my car in. Trying to get the end of the car to line up with that. It will give me a staggered edge, and it gives me something to ground my car on. I like that, so I'm going to glue and commit to my car being on this piece of paper. I am going to reduce this side. I need a bit of a border, more or less the same on both sides. So I'm thinking I need to kind of give it a trim about there. If I put that scrap behind, then that gives me my white border. Bring my car back in, and I'm going to trim away that bit. Just going to fold this to give myself an idea of how much I want to trim off the bottom here. Before I get that in, I'm going to glue that portion in place. And I'm going to trim this portion off across the bottom there where I've made that fold. Now I need to decide what I'm going to do with these pieces, and I really didn't have a plan for these because there were various options. I thought that I could maybe just have a portion up at the top there and maybe have a little bit down at the bottom here across that corner, and I think I'm going to make life really simple for myself and just do that. Okay, so I'm going to glue this piece in place, and I'm going to glue my background in place, so I'll be back when that's done. So this is all glued down now. It didn't quite go down as smoothly as I would like, and I've ended up with a little bit of a ridge, a crease there, and also down in this corner. Now there's nothing much I can do about that bit there, but I can maybe mask that a little bit. This dictionary page was quite lightweight, and obviously this is card with it being a postcard, so it didn't really work very well over that edge that I cut down there. In hindsight, maybe I should have left that piece of writing at the bottom of the card, but I didn't, so nothing I can do about it. I did a bit more fussy cutting with these pieces, and I was thinking that I would have that up there, something like that, but I'm not actually liking the blue background. So what I will do with that is go in and cut out these leaves here so that I'm getting rid of all the blue there and have this trailing down there. Now it's not going to be very noticeable, but I don't think it'll be hidden completely. I think it'll be subtle, so I might be able to get away with that. And because I had a little bit left, this was a bit that came off the bottom, so I'll add that on as well. And as you can see, I've got a couple of the little tiny berries there which also came off, so I'm going to add those on, a bit like paper piecing rather than collaging, but I think it'll work. And I had a little bit left over, and this is the bit that I am going to use to mask hopefully that down there, because I'm just going to have that down there across my corner like that. So before I go away and do any fussy cutting with that and glue that on, I need to do something with my brads. So this is what I had in mind. Being very lazy, I'm not getting out my piercing mat. I'm just going to go with my rubber underneath, and I'm just going to line this up and try and pierce a hole. Yep, there we go, that's one, and that's the other one. And I know the prompt was for one, but I'm going for two. So that's one there. Just going to open those out on the back. Just going to use my desk to flatten it down. I think these are going to be oversized, but they're the only ones I had. I don't think Ranger do different sizes in these. I wanted these rather than normal plain brads. And I'm just going to straighten that one up as well as best I can, like that. And again, open the prongs out on the back. Right, let's get these glued on. And I'm going to have them half on, half off my dictionary page, and hopefully lead the eye to the floral element rather than the ridge that I've got going on there. And I need to do a bit more fussy cutting with these, so I'm going to quickly do that. So this is now my finished piece, everybody. You saw me do that extra little bit of fussy cutting, and that doesn't want to go in there. There we go. You saw me do that extra little bit of fussy cutting, and I've got my leaves up in this top corner, and I've tried to leave them raised as well so that I've got some movement on them, and I think that gives quite a nice effect. I've just noticed that one's not stuck down at all, so I'm just going to put a tiny little bit of glue and just touch it in place like that, and hopefully it will stay down. There we go. So now I'm going to try and get this on again. Never wants to go on. There we go, done it. So there we go, everybody, my finished piece. As I say, I've got some movement, I hope, in those leaves down there, and I've glued the extra little sprig down here. I had 3 little berries left over, so I've just popped those down in that corner. So very quickly to go through the prompts. Train, plane or automobile, I went with my lovely vintage classic car here in this gorgeous maroony colour. A decorative napkin, that's my V&A maroon and green napkin in the background. Something found in the mountains, well, I went with foliage and berries, vegetation. You always find that sort of thing in the low levels of the mountains, not so much this sort of vegetation high up. I appreciate that. Dictionary page, I've got my piece down here. In hindsight, I wish I had ripped this bottom edge, or not as deep as I have done, but as I say, it is as it is. And an interesting building, well, that's this lovely one in the background here, which is really made by the night sky being this lovely deep olive green, and the hints of gold in the sky with the moon up there and gold on the cathedral as well. Just gorgeous. And finally, bonus, a paper clip or brad. Well, I went with 2 brads, being greedy, and they are my car headlights. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I'm pleased with this one. It came together nice and easily. It was fiddly doing the fussy cutting, but I quite like doing that. I find it quite relaxing. So as always, a very big thank you from me to you for being here and watching and spending some of your day with me. Really do appreciate it. Until next week and assignment number 38, have a fabulous week and enjoy your crafting, and I'll see you again soon. As always, pictures at the end for you to have a closer look. Bye bye now.